I normally start these with a title, but let's just start with me this time. So, just going to short video. We're just going to show how to handle opening files and reading from files in Java. Nice short video, and we're just going to tokenize it. So it's going to be a comma separated value file, and we'll just go ahead. We'll start by just quickly making it. I'm only going to read 4 values. So let's see. First name, surname, age. That's string, int, and income. So that's our 4 columns. Remember, a CSV is a type of database. It's a flat file. That's us got a CSV. Not saved it yet. Not created a project to save it to. So from that point, we can go to our file access. Need any other names? We've filled it. No, it's an empty one. But we now have our NetBeans open. We've got an empty project. It's successfully built. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and save this. Just in a location. So I've got an empty drive here. That's now saved. So we can now access that. We know where it is. In my case, it's on the iDrive. It's right there. Sitting there. So right, we're just going to do it all in the main. Just keep it nice and simple. So we're going to use a scanner class. Scanner. We're going to use system.in. Now, obviously, I've not added the import yet. We've got file scan. And with that, throw in or try and catch. File. Exception. From that point, we can attempt to load our file. So file scan equals new scanner. New file and our path to our file. Yep, remember it's iDrive, and well, 2 slashes because the first one cancels out. File access db.constraint value, and we'll hit it. That should give us 2 because we've not used the imported to file class from the standard Java library. Once we do that, it fixes this error here. We've now got our file. We've got what happens if it doesn't load, doesn't find it. At that point, we can use a loop. A while loop would be the best choice. So while file scan dot has next line. Well, it has more lines. Do something. And to be honest, to start with, let's just display it in the console. It would just be the next line. So, file dot line. That'll just send it out as a string. And obviously, when we get to our end, we have to close the file. There we go. a nice little bit at the bottom, so we can see it's loading the file. So we have our line, stored it in new line, variable called new line string, and at that point we can start tokenize it. Tokenizing it means breaking it up into smaller tokens. So there's a Java class called string tokenizer. Tokens, that is new string. And from that it's the new line, so new line, passing in the whole string. We're going to break it up the comma because it's a comma separated value file. There we go. Now again, not imported the class yet. So we've now tokenized all, and it's time to start reading it now. Comma separated value files have set format. First line gives the name. Now it can easily omit this first line, just makes it human readable in case we have to read it somewhere else. But it doesn't have to be human readable, it can be cut out. Now the values always remain the same, so the first column is always first name, second surname, third surname, so that means our tokens will always be that in that order. And they don't change. If you need to omit token, you just leave it as 2 commas. So with that, we will progress on, and we can start declaring some variables. So I'm going to actually go back up and declare them, because we know we've got first name, surname, age, and income. Right, we'll go ahead and start creating our variables. At that point, we've already tokenized it by the comma, so we can start actually reading it in as a separate token. So name equals tokens dot next token, and the tokenizer already brings it by a string. Don't need to do in for surname equals tokens dot what equals next token, and then it's the age. We need to start parsing it, so integer dot parse int is tokens dot next token, and then income equals float. Parse float, take a string in, tokens dot next token. At that point, so we've already realised that parse int fails if it's not an integer in the column. You can see here, the first row, show that. I'll be back doing that. I'll go ahead and run. And now it's the errors here, and that's just because the age value was. And this is just your normal way parsing ints and stuff and parsing tokens, because if you look at the file, between the comma and that there's a space. It's just a matter of cleaning up dead space, and for that you can just pick it up by using the trim feature. So it's next token trim. We can do the same for the float. And the trim command trims trailing and leading and trailing white spaces. We'll go ahead at the button. We now have 3 records, 20 values, each 21, 39. That was because we deleted non-integer value at the start on the top, which made it human readable. Now you can either just abandon that line, read it in as next line, instead of, if it's the first line, just drop it and read the next line right away. There's lots of ways you can do that. Do it a wee hacky way that way. Problem with doing it that way is I have to add it. Cool. Go ahead. We could do it that way, and that would mean it would abandon, it would just drop the first line. Just drop that first line, but the problem is our file has no records at that point. It didn't end up in error because there was no line found. It's inside the while loop checking if there is a next line. Another way to do it, getting rid of all this, let's get rid of it. Right here. And it's when actually we're in the next token, we can actually check for it. In here, can try. Or try catch in here. Try to do catch. We can try and then we can catch the number format exception. So catch number format exception. Let's go to E. We'll go with the old Java documentation. At that point we can actually just set age equals 0, get a default value, and we can do the same for the income. But for this one, we'll comment out the income line. There we go. We can read the first line. It's got an age of 0. Obviously it's just a dumb value, but okay. And it's just a matter of handling these. There's multiple ways you can do it, quite a few different ways, it's up to you. That makes your code pretty ugly pretty fast, but for our program that we're using, we'll be doing the assignment for, we can assume the values are correct. And that the first line doesn't exist. Go ahead and remove it so that our program runs. Remember that we can, because we have started splitting them up, we'll go ahead and set it to 0 to begin with. Oh. And for each one equals some. And once we're out, we'll close the file. Not total, it would be collective. That's how we read from a file and use the tokenizer. I hope that's helpful.